Good evening. My name is Pat Wooten, and I am the chairperson of the Montclair Community Action Committee, one of the hosts of this event. On behalf of our members, I want to welcome you here tonight for the 2012 General Municipal Election Montclair City Council Candidates Forum. The purpose of tonight's event to help you be more informed about the candidates who are running for the 2 seats on the Montclair City Council. This forum will be organized and structured, and to help us moderate tonight, it is my pleasure to introduce a member of the Montclair Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Daniel Neal. Dan is a lifelong area resident, alumni of the University of La Verne, and a respected insurance professional, having had over 20 years in the insurance industry. He owns and operates the Baldy View Insurance Agency, a nationwide agency in Montclair. His special interests include family time, helping the surrounding community, and Notre Dame football. Go Fighting Irish.
Sorry to all the SC fans in the audience. I'd like to welcome you as well to the 2012 General Municipal Election Montclair City Council Candidates Forum. And at this time, I would like everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Community Action Committee member Arturo Padilla.
Please put your right hand over your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Arturo. All righty. I'm going to be discussing my role as moderator for this evening and setting the rules for the agenda tonight. I will be moderating all 3 segments of the forum. The candidates will make an opening statement, followed by a question and answer period, and concluding with closing statements. All segments will be timed by our timekeepers, Peggy Benajas and Arturo Padilla, both members of the Community Action Committee. The forum will be taped this evening and will air on Government Access Channel 3, various days and times prior to the election day. And for your convenience, I believe there is a flyer by the exit doors that will tell you what dates and times that will air. As you can see, the candidates are seated on the stage. The seating was arranged for the candidates. It was determined by a random drawing earlier this evening. For opening statements, the rotation will be from east to west. I am on the east side of the house, so it will be ladies first this evening. And then during the question and answer period, the rotation will go from east to west, beginning with one person west each new question. Each candidate will have the opportunity to make a 3-minute opening statement. The structure and content of the opening statements are at the discretion of each candidate. A typical opening statement may include the following: candidate's qualifications, why a candidate regards himself as the best leadership choice for the office, issues important to the candidate, and various and visionary comments regarding the candidate's outlook for the city of Montclair. Incumbents may wish to highlight their public service to the community and make observations regarding the need to maintain the status quo relative to their retention. Challengers may want to make observations regarding their perceived need to change the established order. Each candidate will be advised when his opening statement is approaching the time limit and when their time is over. Each candidate should make concluding comments when the 1-minute remaining sign is held up. And if you would just hold that up, thank you. After the completion of all opening statements, candidates will respond to written questions from the audience. Questions may be addressed to the candidates in writing only. Members of the audience will have an opportunity to prepare questions during the opening comments segment this evening. Representatives of the Montclair Community Action Committee will collect the questions. So if you would like to fill out a questionnaire for our candidates this evening, please hold up your hand and we will make sure that those forms get to you and they're collected and brought up here. Let's see, sorry about that. Acceptable questions are those that have to do with the candidate's qualifications, experience, character, integrity, and honesty as they relate to the role and duties of a city council member in Montclair. As a moderator, I will address all questions to the candidates. Keep in mind, we have a lot of questions tonight, and some people have asked numerous questions. We may not get through all of them this evening, but I will do my best to get through as many as I can. I will present questions to candidates in the following manner. General questions of interest and concern will be addressed to all candidates. General questions will be randomly selected or can be directed toward a specific candidate, and questions that have been submitted for a specific candidate may be selected and asked of that candidate. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to those questions. Following the question and answer period, each candidate will then have the opportunity to make a 3-minute closing statement. The structure and content of those closing statements are at the discretion of each candidate. A typical closing statement may include the following rebuttal comments, reemphasis of various positions discussed, and the responsibility to vote. Each candidate will be advised when his closing statement is approaching the 1-minute mark, and the candidate would then make concluding comments. So with that, we will begin this evening. And our first general question. Candidates make promises when running for public, oh, excuse me, we're not doing that. We're doing the, I'm jumping ahead. I'm having a Monday on a Wednesday. With this point, we're going to go ahead with your opening comments. I apologize.
Okay, thank you. It's been my pleasure to represent our community on the Montclair City Council these past 20 years. Together, we transform Montclair into a great community. During my current term, I worked on behalf to introduce major traffic safety and roadway improvements, including construction of the Ramona Avenue Bridge. Over the next several years, residents will see construction of the Monte Vista Avenue Bridge and reconstruction of the Central Avenue Bridge at Union Pacific Railroad tracks. For leisurely pursuits, we have a new youth and senior center, splash pad, and skate park at Alma Hoffman Park, bring enjoyment to our diverse population. Police, fire, and public works service represent vital components of my efforts to promote public safety. Montclair Plaza will soon undergo major exterior improvements and expansion, and 2 major housing developments planned for North Montclair will invigorate our local economy. Montclair is faced with many fiscal challenges. My experience has helped keep Montclair physically sound and on the right track. While other cities seek bankruptcy protection, be assured Montclair is growing and has established a reputation for sound fiscal practice and responsible government. The Inland Valley Daily Bulletin calls Montclair one of the best managed cities in the Inland Valley. Despite loss of revenue, Montclair continues to maintain all service programs and other residents a safe community. We have done this by reducing staffing where appropriate and reassign duties and responsibilities to create leaner, more efficient government and avoid increasing taxes. I take great pride in being endorsed by the Daily Bulletin. Officer Rob Pipersky, Montclair police officer for 32 years, and the only, and I repeat, only officer that lives in Montclair. Sam Crow, the president of the Ontario Montclair School Board, as well as my fellow council members and numerous seniors, among many, many others. I hope you consider carefully the information regarding each and every one of us up here and that you vote wisely. Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank the Chamber and the Community Action Committee for hosting this event. When I first applied for the City of Montclair, I told the panel of interviewers that the reason I was applying was to give back to the community that my daughters and I enjoyed. As I progressed up the ladder in finance, the notion that I was making a difference in the community helped drive me to be the best I could be both professionally and individually. After I retired from the City of Montclair, the desire to continue to make a difference in the community still existed in me. With my retirement, it opened the door to additional options I could not pursue as an employee of the City of Montclair. As a Montclair resident of 35 years, city financial experience of 21 years and 11 years as a key finance manager, I have a very personal interest in working to see that Montclair realizes its full potential to improving the daily lives of residents. As your councilman, I will use my 2 decades of financial experience to ensure Montclair City Council provides responsible, accountable government, delivering vital services in a cost-effective way. I believe in hearing all sides and drawing consensus. I truly believe in treating all residents with respect. I will work towards ways to solving Montclair's economic problems so residents and businesses do not have to shoulder the economic burden of the city's financial problems via increased fees or taxes. I will also work towards changing the restrictive sign and banner ordinance so businesses can remain competitive in advertising their businesses. I will work towards new creative advertising methodologies to help promote Montclair's businesses to neighboring communities. I will also reprioritize money so our infrastructure will remain well-maintained and aesthetically pleasing. So business customers will know Montclair places a high priority on maintaining the roads for our city. I will also work towards making sure the Montclair signage is well-maintained, for instance, the welcoming sign and also the police department building signs, and reflect a community that cares about the first impression customers get about our community. I will also work towards improving our parks, making them more family-friendly by enhancing the activities available at each park. As a single dad raising 2 daughters and now being the grandfather of 7 and a great-grandfather, I have a very personal stake in Montclair's future prosperity, and I look forward to serving you as your next city council person. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Philip Reese. I've lived in Montclair for over 40 years. I attended Mount San Antonio College, where I still teach labs once a year. I volunteer my time and give back to lots of organizations. I'm a certified tree worker and a certified arborist through the International Society of Arboriculture. I'm an account manager for Valley Crest Landscape and Tree Care. It's the largest landscape company in the United States. I'm on the board as a chairperson for the Western Chapter, International Society of Arboriculture. For the past 12 years, I've been the facilitator for the tree worker exam for that same organization. I'm running as a writing candidate for the council because I love Montclair and I'm interested in improving the community for future residents as well as continuing to keep our current residents satisfied with the services the city offers. I don't have a political or a speech and debate background, so please bear with me tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Sean Brunsky. I'd like to thank the Montclair Community Action Committee for this opportunity to speak with you tonight. But more importantly, I want to thank the residents and business owners for sharing with me their concerns and requests to make Montclair a better place to work and live in. If the city was bustling with business, had huge financial reserves, had fully staffed city, police, and fire personnel, I would not be running for city council. The current city council would have the full support of the residents, businesses, and all employees of the city. After walking the streets and meeting with businesses, they do not have their full support. I have been a resident of Montclair for 15 years and have never received a call, letter, or visit from any of the city council members as to the status of our city or any plans for growth. What I have found is you have to get out and meet residents and hear their concerns, and I have heard you. Issues like the garage sale limitations, street improvements, sidewalks on certain streets, so our school children don't have to walk in the street to get to school. Jobs for our own citizens, the enormous amount of vacancies and store closings, the dismissal of our fire chief, the loss of our police officers, and your concern that there needs to be changes at City Hall. So here's my plan and vision for Montclair. Create a business-friendly environment that Montclair is open for business, and our arms are wide open to welcome you to our city. Stop the bleeding and loss of city employees, police, and fire personnel so we don't go backwards, because we still want to provide a safe community. Set goals and agendas over the next 4 years, and if I cannot accomplish these goals, I will be happy to fire myself if the city is not in a better position than it is today. This is your city, your tax dollars, your rights as property and business owners to demand the city is working for you and not against you. I'm a very motivated person. I have to be. I'm self-employed. And I don't get paid until the job is done. And that is how I work as a city council member. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. My name is John Dutre. I've been a resident of the city since 1976, graduate of Montclair High School since, graduate in 1983. Married to my Ann, married to my wife Ann. We have 2 children. My parents are, Gene and Maria are in the audience this evening. I've been involved in this community, as I said, since 1983. This is a great city of Montclair. I'm very involved. My wife's very involved in our church. We have a great deal of investment in this city of Montclair, and this is a community that we want to ensure that it remains as a family-friendly and also a very pro-business community. 4 years ago, when I was first elected, re-elected, excuse me, our nation was facing the beginning of the Great Recession. And as I began my new term, my first priority was to deal with the looming budget challenges that Montclair was about to face. And obviously, not just Montclair, but every municipal government and our state government. My goal when I first started this new term was to stabilize Montclair's budget to ensure the city remained financially solvent. My goal was also to continue city services without any major reductions in police, fire, public works, human services, and economic development. Beginning in 2009, as my term started, the Great Recession caused the city's general fund revenues to drop from $29 million a year to $25 million a year, basically a 14% drop in our revenues. At the same time, the city's PERS employee pension costs increased. These are pension costs the city was paying, increased by $2 million. Essentially, it went from $1 million to $4 million. That's where it is today. Our general fund reserves dropped from a high of $9 million to a low of $3 million. And of course, earlier this year, we saw the elimination of our redevelopment agency, which essentially cost a loss of $1.2 million for our general fund. During these last 4 years, this city council has had to make some hard decisions, and I will say some of these decisions were not very popular with employees in order to stabilize our budget or face insolvency, or in some cases, some cities going through bankruptcy. To stabilize our budget here in Montclair, the city trimmed its operating costs by $5 million, which unfortunately included layoffs. And some of these $5 million does include the reduction in personnel costs, service, and other operating costs. With the exception of the Police Officers Association, the city has been very successful in having the employees contribute 6% of their salary to offset the increase, I'll say again, the increase in the pension cost. The city's been able to reorganize city departments, consolidate job responsibilities among a smaller and leaner city staff.
Thank you all for your opening comments. We're going to start with the general questions back over here on the east side. And the first question will be, candidates make promises when running for public office all the time. Can you make just one promise that with absolute certainty you will keep?
Definitely, and that is to keep Montclair stable and keep Montclair from going into bankruptcy like a lot of some of the other cities have.
I promise that I will be working solely for you. In fact, I plan on just taking $1 a month salary so that I can prove to every one of the residents out there that I am working for your benefit.
I would like to keep a promise, keep our city safe, keep our kids safe, your community clean, for a city that we can be proud of.
My one major promise is I will personally bring new businesses, opportunities, and much-needed revenue to the city of Montclair.
My promise to you is pretty easy. I'm going to represent you, the people of Montclair, not the special interest groups, the police union, the fire union. My promise is to ensure that we have a stable city budget and not allow anybody else to influence me. And part of that promise also includes to ensure that all employees, including the police association, the fire association members, start paying their 6% PERS contribution to ensure that we are covering the pension cost increase. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, Mr. Beltran, you will get to go first on this one. We'll go one person with each question. Given the need for efficiency and cost effectiveness, many local governments have considered contracting out departments to other agencies. Do you or do you not support privatization of government services, and why? What services would you recommend contracting out if so?
First of all, if you're going to contract out service, you have to be very careful with this. Reason being is because there's some services that because it's provided by a City of Montclair employee, they have a tendency to care about all elements of the problem, not just the one they're currently working on. And what I mean by that is, let me give you an example. Currently, we are paying $3,950 a month to maintain our skateboard park and the restrooms in the park. And with talking to a number of participants who actually go on a weekly basis to the skateboard park, it is left in an atrocious basis. Basically the sidewalks are black and they don't actually clean them as often as they should. In fact, some of the residents had mentioned to me that it remains that way, and when they do come out with a steam cleaner, it's only done quickly. So it's done by a profit, for a profit, and so forth. So you're not getting the effective use of personnel like you would if it was a city employee who actually had a stake in Montclair. So overall, I'm not in favor of contracting out. You should have a personal interest in your community, and I would prefer us not to.
To agree with that. Where I work for Valley Crest, I am a contractor for the city of Irvine, contract to do the tree work there. And our main purpose there is production, and to get the job done as quickly as possible. I think having the employees in the city themselves doing the work, take pride in the work, and care for the city more. So I don't really agree with contracting out a lot of the work when there's people here in the city that could use the work and would care about our city more.
I am against contracting out. I looked into that with the police and fire and talked to some other cities, personnel, things of that nature, and it just isn't going to work. Like the first two gentlemen have said, once you start contracting out, it's a for-profit. How do they grind out the dollar, the hour for themselves? And you're not going to get the safe support of the police, the fire, and the caring love of a Montclair city employee versus somebody that's driving in from another city who doesn't live here, doesn't do business here, and doesn't care about the city.
Well, obviously, these last 5 years, City of Montclair, like other cities, are dealing with revenue and expense issues. And unfortunately, we're in a new world now where we just can't limit ourselves providing services among employees. We have to look at all options. And one of those options may be contracting out. Another option may be consolidating services with other cities. Another option may be doing what's called a joint powers authority if it's needed. So, if things don't get any better, and if we hit another recession in 2013, not just Montclair, but we have Pomona, Upland, two other cities are going through financial difficulties. We're going to be creative and find other ways to provide those services with the limited funds. I think the last option is go out and ask the voters of the city to pay more taxes. I think we need to look at the other options if indeed, if that's the case. Obviously, you got to study it first. You have to make sure the services make sense, and if the costs are efficient, that also makes sense. Thank you.
As far as contracting, yes, I would. If it is cost efficient and can save the city a lot of revenue, because as everyone knows, all the cities right now are in a lot of trouble. And if sometimes you have to do things like contract out in order to save money, and some of the other cities that do contract out, they are very satisfied with the services that they get. So, and it's something that we would have to take a very hard look at. And you have to weigh all the pros and cons before you completely decide if you would, and then decide which parts of the city that would be better to contract out and which ones wouldn't. But it all depends, like I said, on what the services and what the cost effectiveness would be.
Thank you. Mr. Reese, you'll be the first to receive this question. 65% of the city budget is for fire and police. That leaves only 35% for all other departments and important city services and programs. How will you balance the budget without cuts to these already strained departments, services, and programs?
I don't have an answer for that.
Do what Mitt Romney says, bring more revenue to the city. It's a simple fact of life. Instead of looking backwards and blaming the recession and, oh, poor me, things aren't happening, you have to be more proactive. And when I mean more proactive, you have to get out and you have to touch and you have to feel, not just business owners in Montclair, but other cities. And ask them, how do we get you to Montclair? How do we get you to our city? Those are the things that you have to do. That's how you balance it out. You bring in more revenue. For instance, in 2008, 2009, we had $42,300,000 in revenue in the city. Currently, it's $34 million, $8 million of loss of revenue. That has to change, and I'm going to change that.
Obviously, as I stated before, this city's already cut $5 million out of the general fund. We've been very successful to do with this. We're asking our employees to do more with less. Our employees are doing 2 or 3 jobs. Our city manager, for example, is not only the city manager, he's still doing his old job, and he's also the city clerk, which is a savings over $300,000 a year. Obviously, North Montclair is a very important regional destination for this community. We have to make sure the Montclair Plaza remains strong and stable. We have to make sure that our car dealerships are doing well there. And we also have to implement what's called the North Montclair Specific Plan, which currently is one project's underway, to develop a urban community where we're able to connect our Metrolink, our GO line, and continue to make that area a strong destination for this region. So this way we can bring in the property tax dollars and the sales tax dollars to the city.
Yes, okay, as John said, we do have 8 million loss of revenues. You know, the city, we are cutting back and saving money as it is because our city manager's doing 3 jobs. And he hasn't even gotten a raise, and ever since he came in, and we have other department heads that are also doing more than 1 job, and without any pay. I know some people have spread the word around that they get a raise or they're getting a lot more money. Well, that's not true. Not one of them have gotten a raise. And saying that you can bring more business into the city, okay, well, that's great. But with the economy the way it is, you know, it's hard to get businesses to come in. People are, with not knowing the future of this, what the country's going to bring, they're reluctant to let loose of their money. They're reluctant to expand. They're reluctant to start a new business. And so just by saying you'll go out and do, you can't, it's not as easy as it sounds. I wished it was. That would be great, but it's not.
First of all, City of Montclair has taken a reactive approach to the problems that we're facing. And what I mean by that is they're looking at cutting the expenditures instead of increasing the revenues, and basically taking a proactive business approach and encouraging new businesses to come into Montclair that will help increase the revenues for the City of Montclair. How are we going to do this? Basically, we're going to create incentives for the for new businesses to come into Montclair. We're going to streamline the process so that we can get them through. There's an additional benefit for that is we get people back to work. You get people back to work working full time. You also support current businesses, and the Montclair economy will thrive. What type of businesses am I talking about? Unique businesses, businesses that are a draw to Montclair, and basically new businesses in the Southern California area. Those are the type of businesses that will allow us to be able to draw from neighboring communities and so forth. And those are the type of businesses we need to do to make Montclair something special, a new destination for consumers.
Thank you. The next question. The employee paid member contribution is called the employee share for a reason. As such, all members of the Montclair's employee bargaining groups, with the exception of Montclair Police Officers Association, are contributing a minimum of 6% of their employee paid member contribution. Do you believe they should or should not pay, and why? And if so, do you believe employees should receive offsetting compensation? Question, so if you need me to repeat it, please.
No, I have the gist of the question. Not being a city council member, I don't have, direct contact with the finances of the city and, where the pay raises have been in the city. What I've been told is either salaries have been frozen or decreased, or you got a pink slip. And, these are tough times, and I know a lot of employees have decided to not take pay raises because they want to keep their job, they want to help the city out. But if we keep taking the stick and beating them over the head and saying, no pay raises, we need you to contribute to your pensions, at some point there's a breaking point when these key employees are going to move on to another city. And that's the dilemma that we face, so why don't we reverse the course? And like Mrs. Raff said, how are people going to do any developments right now? Why don't you walk up to the Upland Colonies development? They're building their huge second phase. So don't tell me that there's no development going on in these tough economic times when they already have big box stores moving in up there. Why isn't that happening at the Montclair Plaza? How did we let that slip away and end up at the Upland Colonies when we have a huge mall and half of it's sitting empty?
Well, first of all, I think it's time that all our employees start paying the contribution for their employee portion. As I state again, $2 million is what the cost has gone up in the last 4 years. $2 million is what's coming out of the city budget. We're asking employees to pay 6%. If they pay their 6%, that equates to $800,000 a year. There's still an additional $1.2 million that's coming out of the city coffers. Fortunately, one of the unions, the Police Association, doesn't want to pay it. We've been in negotiations with them for the last year and a half. Obviously, it's led to this political situation where the Police Association now wants to not only remove Carol and I, but to conduct a recall election on the other 3 council members so they can avoid paying the 6% contribution. I think the voters of Montclair will find that wrong. I think that the voters of Montclair expect that the employees to pay for this increased cost. I don't think the voters of Montclair want to see a tax increase or a service eliminated, so this way employees don't have to pay for their pension cost. I don't want to be like San Bernardino. I don't want to be like Stockton. I don't want to be in a position to our friends to the north, City of Upland, to have $1.5 million in reserves. I want the city to have a strong city budget so we continue to provide services. We have great employees here. Employees are sacrificing. They're doing more with less, and we will continue to do that. When things get healthy, when the budget gets much better shape, when the recession improves, then that is the time when we can talk about doing the salary increases. Thank you.
First of all, to Mr. Brunski's comment, Montclair Plaza is a privately owned corporation. Montclair City has little control over who they bring in or how many stores are empty. Our management does have meetings with them ever so often. And matter of fact, it's kind of like on a regular basis. And we kept trying to get an answer from them as to when they're going to be finishing up the renovations of the outside that's supposed to be doing to the mall, or what kind of other businesses, and sometimes even telling them, why don't they go after this business or that business? And like I say, we have a little control. And yes, I do believe that everyone should pay their 6%. And the reason I believe the police department should is because all the other employees pay their 6%. And it's not fair for one department not to do that. And all the other employees have come about and said, yes, we will, because they want to help. They want to help keep their city stable. They want to have a job. They don't want to see Montclair go into bankruptcy, and neither does the whole council. This council has been working, and we will continue to work to make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, first of all, let me let you know that San Bernardino County went into bankruptcy for illegally using funds from areas that they shouldn't have tapped into. This was not solely just related to personnel costs and so forth. So this is just a scare tactic that some of these council members are using so that to try to convince you that their way is the only way. Regarding PERS costs and so forth, there's also a misconception that the police department or the Police Officers Association was not willing to pay their 6%. They were, but on the same token, they were willing to negotiate it. So that's a big difference. They understand giving it, but they want to negotiate other things with it. So it's not that they're not willing to help. It's just the management decided.
You're finished.
I'm not up on all the finances of the city employees and all the 6% that they need to pay and all that, but I believe that as times go on, things get better. Things will get better. Then the pay will go up, and then 6% can be negotiated between the police department, fire department, and city employees. So I think everybody should pay their dues.
Thank you. Just a reminder, I know you want to address the audience, but remember, we have 2 minutes on each one of the responses, so keep looking over here for your warning signs. Moving down the line, next question. The current city council maintains that all employees should pay a share of pension costs. Police and Fire Association members are angered by this position and are threatening to recall city council members to replace them with elected officials they control. Do you support recalling the rest of the city council as advocated by the public safety unions? If so, state your reasons.
First of all, no, I don't. And as I stated earlier, that the biggest issue that we're faced right now is we have two associations that are determined to control the city council with their candidates. I don't mean just the two candidates here this evening. I'm speaking of doing a recall on the mayor. And how I know that, because they've asked me to run for mayor for the recall election. I think it's a disgrace that we have employees here who are making $80,000, $90,000 a year in the police department, plus overtime pay. Another employee is making $70,000 a year in the fire department. They're going to claim they're making less than other cities. We have households in this community. The average median income in this community is $52,000. So I think it's a disgrace that they are going to this level to influence this city council, to influence the policy for the basic purpose of putting more money in their pocket. We have two employees, one in the police association, one in the Montclair Firefighter Association, live in Montclair. The rest of them don't live in Montclair at all. That's their commitment to Montclair. I'm determined to make sure that that doesn't happen.
As far as a recall, no, I would not support it. This council working together has made Montclair stable. In case any of you missed the daily bulletin, they happened to mention that Montclair is one of the cities around that is stable. A lot of our cities, a matter of fact, most of them around us are not stable. They're laying off and they're having very big financial problems. And Montclair is stable. We have a reserve. And as it is, our police officers and our firefighters are making, the average person in Montclair makes about $54,000. But when it comes to the fire and police, they're well over $100,000 when it comes to their pay and benefits. So I think they could afford their 6%.
Well, Carolyn, the Montclair Firefighters Association is paying their 6%. Anyway, regarding the recalls are the last effort when all else has been exhausted. And unfortunately, that can be an ultimate outcome. It's not something that everybody wants. It's also very costly, not only to the people involved, the council candidates, but also to the residents. So it should be approached cautiously and so forth. But on the same token, all people involved should be open and remain open to being able to resolve the problem, treating everybody respectfully and addressing the problem. Thank you.
I agree. I don't believe that there should be any reason for recall. We elected these council members and everybody else, and we picked them, so we must trust in them and have faith in them. I believe they're doing a very good job for our city, and I think that's it.
There's one thing that that one promise that President Obama made, which I love. If he couldn't get this economy turned around, he'd be a one-term deal. I agree with them. And it's the same thing here. If we don't hold these city council and these cities accountable to what the business world is accountable to, then it's just going to be a sinking ship. You got to have new, fresh, bold ideas to get things going in the city. And if you just huddle down and cut, eventually you're going to run out of employees, you're going to run out of staff, city services are going to get cut. It's just, but as for a recall, I'm not interested in a recall. I'm interested in moving Montclair forward. And in doing so, you got to be a team player. And I can hear up here, there's a lot of animosity going on between the city council and its employees. So obviously something's not getting done within the city that they can't all get together and work something out.
Thank you. Mr. Beltran, you were shorted about a minute of time on the previous question. So if you'd like me to read that question, if you would like to expand on that, or if you'd like another minute on this question in the essence of fairness. I'm going to mix it up a little bit, and we're going to do some individual questions, again, coming back to the east side of the table. Well, if I can do these the right way. Mrs. Raff. During your tenure as a council member, you have been criticized for code enforcement violations at your home. Have you corrected these? In addition, you have also been criticized for special parking for your business. Can you respond to this criticism?
Definitely. As far as the home, when we lived there in the beginning, the home was owned by a Mr. William Sahlberg. All we did was lease the house. And then my son turned around and bought the properties, the house and the business, and that was in around 2003. And all code violations, it can be checked very easily, all code violations were corrected with the help of the staff and John working together. Like I said, it's an open book, and you can check it. Now, as far as the parking, okay. Yes, he does have parking, but the police on our block, it's so heavily people so heavily parked together that you can't see behind the cars or you can't see between the cars, especially at night. And so my son advocated for no parking without permit to be on actually the whole block. He asked for it because he thought it would help the police when they're coming down in order to be able to see, since sometimes there are problems in the block. The city said Holt Boulevard, that the whole property from Holt Boulevard to the alleyway, which is behind the house, is owned all by him. And the block across the street, which is an empty vacant lot, it also has one owner. So therefore, if both of the owners of those two properties wanted parking or no parking without permit, they would be, it would be okay with the city. And especially the customers, sometimes it was hard for them to find parking spots, or even other people to find parking spots that was coming to the business or the home. Then,
Mr. Beltran, moving down the line. Excuse me, this one's handwritten, so bear with me. After reading a recent article in the Daily Bulletin, your former finance division staff will be seeking a restraining order against you if you are elected. Why do you think they fear for their safety, and how would this affect your duties as a council member?
First of all, this is politically motivated. All right, it's upsetting to me that the city would stoop to this level, and it's an obvious attempt to fool the voters of the type of person that I am, and it's just mudslinging. For the record, I resent this type of accusations. I'm a family man, a God-loving person, and a man of high moral fiber. I would have been crazy to run for city council if this was true. Before the police and fire associations endorse a candidate, they do their homework. They look in the background and so forth. And they would not have allowed me to use their good name if that was true. So, thank you.
Mr. Ruiz, because you are a write-in candidate, what sets you apart from the other candidates running for office?
What sets me apart is that I don't have a political background. What I have is a love for the city. I've lived here for, like I said, for over 40 years. My family still lives here. The city's a small city, and I want to keep it growing as a small city. I want to keep it beautiful and make it a place where we can be proud of to leave for our children, my children, and everybody else's families here.
Thank you. Mr. Brunsky. Make sure I'm in order. In a flyer endorsing your candidacy, a current council member is criticized for code enforcement violations. We now know that you own a property that is the focus of a serious legal court action, specifically a complaint for permanent, I believe this should be injunctions, but I'm not sure, injections in regards to complaints about drugs, prostitution, strangulations, etc. How can you possibly describe yourself as a responsible member of the business community when you can't maintain your properties and have denied any involvement?
I sold that property in September 2010. I have the contract underneath this desk if anybody would like to see it. Those allegations were never made to me. There was no documentation that I ever received one letter, phone call, or a request for a meeting from any city employee about these issues. And once again, this is politically motivated by the current council trying to defame me and Richard Beltran. And if the city cared so much and these employees cared so much about getting a restraining order against Mr. Beltran, why didn't they take action at the time of the incident? This is a total smear, and it's time for Montclair to move forward.
Thank you. Mr. Dutray. There were some issues a few months ago. There were some issues a few months ago that seemed to cause dissension among the city council and the city's paramedic truck being pulled, and the increasing of cost over time compensation at the fire department. Have those issues been resolved? How so? And how has this affected the conscience of the city council?
Well, first of all, I'm waiting for a report from city manager, but the paramedic unit's been in service since July 1st. There might be a couple of days without was out of service. This is a issue that I took very serious. I think some of my council colleagues felt that I was being political on it, but I felt that in our budget, if we're funding for two engines and the medic squad, then all three should be out of service. There's no excuse where the medic squad should have been out of service 90% of the time. That is completely wrong. Who made that decision and why the city council was not involved in the decision is still a mystery to me. But nevertheless, we're moving forward. I did have my difficulties with the mayor. I know he's in the audience. Mayor and I did not talk for about 2 months. I know Councilman Paulus is also, and I had a lot discussion one day about the issue. But we've sat down and resolved our issues. But I'm still committed to making sure that we have a very strong fire department. We have 3 apparatus units, and that the citizens of Montclair get the service they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to Mrs. Raft. Given that you are a small business owner in Montclair, what do you see as the biggest challenges small businesses face when working with the city of Montclair? And what suggestions do you have for improving this?
Okay, first of all, I am not a small business owner. Haven't been for quite some time. And secondly, as far as when I was, or even I know my son, anytime we've had to check with the city about whether it's a banner or whether it's anything else, the city has always worked with us, and the city works with all the other businesses as well. I haven't seen them not work with one of the businesses. I have went to code enforcement before on people who had a problem, and with the city, myself and them, we got it resolved. And the city is always willing to work with businesses because that's our bread and butter. We want them to stay. We want them to be happy. But at the same time, they have to do the right thing. So the city works with them in order to get them to comply. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Beltran. Regarding character, integrity, and honesty, would you say it is appropriate to email your subordinates I apologize, it's handwritten, at 12:53 a.m. expressing your displeasure that they did not wish you a happy Valentine's Day? Attached is a copy of the original email, which says, I want to thank, this is from you, I believe. I want to thank you for all your wishes of happy Valentine's Day. Oh yeah, you all neglected too. TOO. It amazes me that I have been your manager for this long and how inconsiderate all of you have become. Please don't ask for any favors. I will, for now on, only be your manager, Richard.
To tell you the truth, that email never happened. That's modified. That is a modified email. The email that actually went out was related to a birthday, not a Valentine's Day, okay? It was related to a birthday and so forth, and me being their manager for so long and so forth. It was not related to Valentine's Day, all right?
Is that it? Okay. Mr. Ruiz. How would you balance your existing career along with the responsibilities of being a council member?
That I'm trying to figure out still myself. I've got a lot of stuff on my plate. I work a lot of hours, but I believe working with the city council, I can give my time effectively and productively to the city to help improve things.
Mr. Brunsky, since your since your campaign literature suggests the city needs to streamline its approval process for business and development, can you explain the development approval process in the city and state, which specific in the city and state which specific elements of the process require streamlining?
If anybody would like to drive down south on Central, make a left on Holt, and just past there's a hotel. Right next to that is a boarded up house. Been there for a long time. And I've got people that want to do something with that building. And guess what the city of Montclair says? Ain't going to happen. So why would we stop businesses from moving into a dilapidated property, fixing it up, getting rid of the eyesore, and then creating revenue? This is simple. This isn't tough. And yet, when we talk about bringing new revenue to the city is a stopping block for new businesses. I've talked to them. I've gotten out there. I've shaken their hands. This is the problem. This is why we have a revenue problem in this city. Okay? And that's why when I get to be council member, you're going to see these things happen.
Mr. Dutray, can you tell us about your future political ambitions? More specifically, do you plan to run for mayor in 2 years?
After this election, I am not running for mayor at all in 2 years. I want to go back to talk about businesses, and I'm not sure what type of business this applicant's talking about putting in this house. But I want to say one thing, that this staff's been very proactive, ensuring that the applicants who come to the counter are dealt with. And I can tell you, in talking to not just developers, but other business people or other folks who want to bring in different uses here in Montclair, our staff gets a lot of compliments, starting from Steve Lustro, Maryland Stats, the planners, the bill inspectors, our code enforcement people, starting with Gabe, a lot of compliments. Our biggest issue of revenue is not about business not coming to Montclair, it's about the Great Recession we're dealing with. Now, let's go to the Montclair Plaza. I have met with the plaza owners several times, the old ones, thank God they're gone, and now the current new ones. I have seen plans, models in the Montclair Plaza several times, including with the current new owners. You know, when we start to remodel the inside of the Montclair Plaza, there were plans to do something on the outside of the Montclair Plaza. So happens the old owners filed for bankruptcy, and then, of course, the recession began. The new owners, Cushman Wakeman, do have plans for the Montclair Plaza. They have an outdoor outdoor entertainment center, restaurants, a number of outdoor improvements or exterior improvements to the plaza itself, knocking down the old Macy's building. Hopefully next year we will begin to see something develop there at the Montclair Plaza. I can state that this city staff has been very aggressive in dealing with the old Montclair Plaza owners and new Montclair Plaza owners. And I can tell you my number one priority, other than stabilizing the city budget, is to ensure that we have good business here in Montclair. We have a strong North Montclair that maintains its regional viability, and that we have strong sales taxes and property taxes coming to this city hall so we can pay our bills. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go back to some general questions. So again, the same question for each candidate. The city lost approximately $8.6 million in revenue annually when the state legislature and the governor eliminated redevelopment. Redevelopment funded economic development programs, portions of the graffiti abatement program, housing programs, and infrastructure programs, such as the widening of the bridge at the I-10 freeway and Central Avenue. How do you propose the city carry out economic development, housing improvement, and infrastructure programs without redevelopment resources?
Well, first of all, it's going to be very difficult, and it is the only thing you can do is try and you can try and go out and promote businesses and maybe hopefully develop a partnership with them in order to have them come in. But like I say, with the economy and the way it is now, it's very, very difficult to get people to come in. It's people are afraid right now. That they don't know the future. They're afraid to bring in and to use their money for something they don't know if it's going to succeed or not. So therefore, it's very reluctant. And you can go talk to people all you want, but that doesn't mean that they're going to come in, they're going to start a new business, or they're going to expand their business. That's not true, because they are so uncomfortable with the situation. I would like to add something I didn't get to finish on the block for the business. The whole block had the opportunity to also have no parking without permit, but they went and they tried, and the city said that could be possible. But they did go and tell the other residents and the business owners of the rest of the properties, but they never could get enough of them. There's so many multiple people that own different the apartments that they never could get them all together to even make a decision, this is what they want. Some wanted it, some didn't, so it didn't happen. So.
Could you reread the question for me?
Sure, certainly. The city lost approximately $8.6 million in revenue annually when the state legislature and the governor eliminated redevelopment. Redevelopment funded economic development programs, portions of the graffiti abatement program, housing programs, and infrastructure programs such as the widening of the bridge at the I-10 freeway at Central. How do you propose the city carry out economic development, housing improvement, and infrastructure programs without redevelopment resources?
It is a shame that the bond proceeds that we had from the redevelopment agency had to go to be utilized to pay off of a debt with the Mission Boulevard project area. Mission Boulevard project area was a joint effort between San Bernardino County and the city of Montclair, but somehow the city of Montclair had to take the full financial burden on it without the San Bernardino County giving anything towards that debt. That was wrong. That shrunk a lot of our bond proceeds that could have been used for infrastructure and only ended up being used only to satisfy a debt that we shared with San Bernardino County. With the elimination of redevelopment, it provides an excellent opportunity for the city of Montclair to be very creative, to come up with new and innovative ways to attract businesses, with new business incentives and new business programs, such as deferrals of cost and so forth. So it provides a great forum for us to be creative in establishing ourselves in the Inland Empire. Thank you.
To be honest, I don't know about the can you say that again? The redevelopment agency. But what I do know is I think that the city needs to work together. Everybody needs to work together to work on redeveloping our city to make it better, to bring new businesses in, and help redevelop our city. I know there's a lot of things that are missing and gone from our city, a lot of spots in the mall. The city's streets aren't too good, but I think we need to work together. If we don't have the money, somehow accommodate any way we can to improve our city.
It's not a difficult time right now. There are trillions of dollars of cash sitting in the sidelines right now out in people's wallets. They're ready to spend. They want to invest. And one of those areas is real estate. I'm in the real estate business, and I can assure you that there's not a lot of houses on the market right now. You know why? Because there's so many investors trying to get in today because it's at the bottom. But here's how we get Montclair moving forward. It's called public-private partnerships. Article by David Perez, Vice President of Valley Vista Services in the City of Industry. Public-private partnerships not only allow municipalities to reduce overhead costs, they lay the groundwork for ongoing economic development with the private sector job growth, leverage advancements in systems and technology, and bring stability where there had been uncertainty. For governments, the benefits are many. True partnerships allow cities to maintain a certain level of control over things, such as rates, while leveraging the expertise and experience of their private sector partner. change in response to technology or customer demands can happen faster. The ability to invest in repairs and improvements is greatly enhanced. Partnerships also send a positive message to businesses looking to relocate or expand. As a businessman myself, I want to be in a city that understands the value of economic development and job growth. I also want it to be a positive experience for the community, something that enhances property values and the quality of life. Well said.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for the State of California for eliminating redevelopment. Obviously, redevelopment's been a very important tool, not just in Montclair, but in this region, to revitalize and to bring in new exciting developments and also bring in jobs. Here in Montclair, we do have some funds, even though the loss of redevelopment. Hopefully, we'll be able to keep some of these bond funds and be able to utilize this on some of the projects. But nevertheless, we have to do other things now. Obviously, one I think is go after grant funding and creative funding, both in the public and private sector. The second thing, we need to work closer with developers, develop partnerships, public-private partnerships, as mentioned earlier, to bring in projects that will benefit the city of Montclair. We need to be a little more prudent in our land use decisions. So when a developer or a person who comes in with a project, we may have to modify the zones to make this project efficient. We need to hopefully see an improvement in this economy, and hopefully this economy is improving. There's indications that 2014, 2015, the real estate economy and the job market economy here in Southern California will be improving. And of course, I think us, not just city staff, as city council members, we need to be more prudent. We need to ensure that when a viable project comes to Montclair, that we are their partners, their friends. We ensure that the process, the review process is efficient and done in a timely manner. And we all have to make sure that the other government agencies like CEQA requirements, the Water and Life agencies, Caltrans also are moving forward much faster to get these projects completed. I'm confident that Montclair will continue to be a very strong economy.
Thank you. We're going to do a few more general questions, then we'll go back to candidate-specific questions. Starting back over here on the east side. Excuse me, just put away my question. Montclair police and firefighters use the same controversial law firm, and excuse me if I don't pronounce the name correctly, Lackey, Demir, and McGill to represent their interests. The law firm has gained a questionable reputation related to the type of tactics it used to intimidate city councils into bending to their demands. What is your position on the continued use of this law firm by Montclair's police and fire associations?
Yes, they do have quite a reputation, and if you read on the internet, their reputation is not very good. They're very ruthless. Their main thing, and I went on their website one time and read their little playlist, which was to sue the cities, harass the city council. I mean, just one thing right after another. And they say the thing is they want you to do all this so that the council will just get tired and finally give in. But Montclair is one that will not give in, and we haven't and we won't. I don't think, matter of fact, San Jose used the same law firm. After some of the publicity hit the news and on the internet that was about them and their tactics, they dropped them. And I don't think any reputable, whether it's fire, especially fire and police, should actually hire or employ them because they're bad news. They're very ruthless and they're very bad news.
First of all, throughout history, unions have had to struggle against management in some form or another as they tried to establish their roles in the workplace. There was plenty of times where union workers were mistreated by management and so forth. So unions had to rise to the occasion to be able to protect the workers. Now, first of all, it's not a city council's place to dictate who represents them. That is the right of the association and so forth. And furthermore, if management and the association could see eye to eye, it would not be a hostile situation. It's only when management decides that it's their way and only their way that causes the greatest norm of harm. Thank you.
To be honest, I'm not informed on that also. But I do believe that everybody has the right to have whoever they want represent them. But I don't believe in strong arming or any type of bullying is accepted or wanted. Thank you.
As a citizen of the greatest country in the world, you're entitled to do whatever you want. And I have no idea why this is even an issue about what law firm you use and he uses. Are we going to start telling the citizens of Montclair, you can use this divorce attorney and you got to use that bankruptcy attorney? This is incredible.
Well, first of all, the law firm that you're speaking of just laid out the playbook for the city council race. That's to remove Carol and I and then do the recall election, but that's a different issue. The same law firm that's being utilized has sued the city of Montclair in the last 2 years, and we've incurred $600,000 in legal costs. And these are frivolous lawsuits. One of the lawsuits that we're dealing with right now is regarding going with council districts. The idea is that since all 5 of us, actually 4 of us, serve as at-large city council members, and they are now looking at initiating a lawsuit, probably after the election, and then going to court. There's a special in the California law, a section in there, especially of communities where you have a higher percentage of other ethnic groups, and through that process, if they're successful, they could force Montclair to go to council districts, and also they'll get paid. The city of Montclair will have to pay for the legal bills for that. The Police and Fire Association have every right to use whoever they want. I respect that, but I know in the city of Costa Mesa, the Police Association immediately dropped this law firm after the incident where the city council member was being followed by a special private eye investigator who was under contract or who supposedly is on previous work for the same particular law firm. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. One more general, and then we'll go to candidate-specific questions again. And this one's a duplicate. What will you do to attract, as a city council member, to attract more business to the city?
First of all, I want to redefine what Montclair's role is in the Inland Empire and so forth. I want to search out unique businesses, specialized businesses. Reason being is because we need to get businesses to Montclair that's going to draw from our neighboring communities, unique businesses to the Southern California. For instance, there is a wonderful market that's located, that originally started in San Diego and so forth. It's a family-owned business and it has multiple locations that is thriving. It's an in-between Trader Joe's and Whole Foods. It's currently looking into merging into or getting into the San Bernardino County, Orange County, and LA market, and the demographics are perfect for Montclair. So those are the type of businesses that I would encourage to come into Montclair, and we will be business friendly and so forth. Thank you.
I would like to. Can you repeat the question real quick again?
Sure. As a city council member, what will you do to attract business to the city?
I would like to give incentives to small businesses to come to our city, to make it easier for businesses. I would also like to ask questions as a council member at why people are shopping at places like Victoria Gardens or Ontario Mills and going to places like Pasadena when we're right here in the middle of things. And why we don't have stores that attract people like the Apple Store, stuff that's large, and that would attract stuff like that. Places like Farrell's that went to Rancho instead of we had it here, that bring people, back to what they remember as kids. Why we don't have any more movie theaters. We need to bring stuff back like that so we could have jobs for teenagers and places to go that we remember.
There's viable projects just within our city that want to expand and keep getting suppressed by the city. I ran into a stumbling block when I went to the mall and said, I need to talk to the owners of the mall. I'm running for Montclair City Council, and I want to talk to somebody about doing some things. And got the runaround. Nobody returned my phone calls, so I started doing some more research. And lo and behold, I got a hold of Carmen Espinoza. He actually is one of the new owners and the big leasing agent up there. And Carmen and I had a big, huge conversation about what we're going to do to bring new businesses, expand the mall, and create this public-private partnership program. So I've already taken the steps necessary to attract new businesses to the city. And once I'm a councilman, then I'll really step out and bring more businesses into the city.
First of all, I want to say that I think a lot of cities will kill what we have already in Montclair. We have some good restaurants, we have good retails, we have a shopping mall, we have auto dealerships, we have a lot of small mom-and-pop stores, and so we have very good business here in Montclair already. It is, but obviously we need to ensure the Montclair Plaza becomes more viable, and I do believe that's going to start happening next year. We have to ensure that we start developing stronger working relationships with business owners, developers, because of the loss of redevelopment and because of the economy itself. We have to make sure that when applicants come in, those applications are being streamlined, and they are. I think our staff is doing a very good job to be efficient. One of the things we did 2 years ago is regarding banners, knowing the economy where it was, and so we allowed business owners to not only put up banners, but also we extended the time for banners to be up. So we need to work with the Montclair Chamber of Commerce, and indeed, if businesses have issues, they need to come to us, talk to Chamber of Commerce, City Council, or City staff, and we will do everything we can to make it happen.
Oh, thank you. I guess most of us are up here are just not as smart as Mr. Brunsky is as far as business. We must work with the businesses, I know, by helping in every way that we can. We need to be helpful. We need to be friendly. Anytime there's a problem, we need to be in there and ready to solve it. We have, as I said before, we have met with the mall, the owners, numerous times, and we haven't really gotten that far yet. They keep making promises, but nothing's done. And we're hoping now by next year, according to what the last we heard, they are going to be starting in on the mall and doing as far as the outside, and then hopefully expanding businesses inside. If you're a business person, I've went and visited people in Montclair, and I've seen businesses, and anytime a business has a problem, we always get it solved. And I haven't heard that many problems. I don't know where everybody else is hearing so many of these while they're pulling them off the wall, what they're doing, but I haven't heard them. But yeah, we can, and as John said, we did do the banners. We extended the banners so that the businesses could have more time, and they could have their advertising for longer, so it would help them. And we're getting businesses, as I said before, coming into the city. It's not, I don't know what Mr. Brunsky is doing, but it's not as easy to go out there and bring businesses in the city as he keeps saying it is. I would really like to see him do that.
Thank you. We're going to go back to some random and direct questions. I have several questions here that are asked of multiple individuals. So this first question will be directed to both Mr. Beltran and Mr. Brunsky. And then I have some other ones, so we'll go. In an email to his membership, the president of the Police Association said it was important for officers to support your election to ensure they do not have to pay for their retirement. This statement clearly makes it sound like your votes on public safety, wages, and benefits have been compromised. I ask you to state right now that you will vote to require police to pay their own retirements, and you will not seek to undermine the process by increasing their wages and/or benefits, an action that would end up increasing the city's pension and operating costs. So, Mr. Beltran, I guess we'll go to you first.
Okay, first of all, that was an email that MPOA sent out and so forth. Related to my candidacy, I have made no promises to the MPOA or MFFA. The only thing is they are supporting me based upon my fairness, to acknowledging that they're treated differently than City Hall employees and so forth, and they know they will get a fair shake from me. And so I have, as far as compromising myself, no, I have not, and so forth. And that's it.
Can you read that novel again for me? Because it took a long time.
Yes, it did. In an email to his membership, the president of the Police Association said it was important for officers to support your elections to ensure they do not have to pay for their own retirement. This statement clearly makes it sound like your votes on public safety wages and benefits have been compromised. I ask you to state right now that you will vote to require police to pay their own retirements and that you will not seek to undermine this process by increasing their wages and/or benefits, an action that would end up increasing the city's pensions and operating costs.
I have my own mind to make up, and I make my own decisions, and nobody has ever influenced me in my entire life. Thank you.
This next two-party question is to Mrs. Raft and Mr. Dutray. How do you claim fiscal responsibility when both of you were on the dais that signed off on the former city manager's financial package, making him the fourth highest PERS retiree and costing the city up to $110,000 annually?
Okay, first thing I have to say, when I did first get on the council, Mr. McDougall already had his contract. And every year when we did for a long time, I didn't even do his employee evaluation. I refused to do it. But after that, every time we did go in, the figures that we have were given by Mr. Beltran. And if they were wrong, then that happens to come back on him. Now, secondly, we do pay out $113,000 a year, but with PERS we also get that credit back. So it's like it's a wash. And when Mr. McDougall was there, he put into his own retirement. You can do that, and he knew he was going to be retiring. So he took money and put back into his own retirement, so when he retired, he would get a very hefty over $300,000. Now, we have no control over that. He can do as he pleases. He can also, with him being the city manager, he has control to do whatever he wanted. So.
Dutray?
Well, as far as Mr. Dugo, I want to say this. He did a lot of good things for the city of Montclair, and I think at the end he took advantage of the city of Montclair. We did not pay him $300,000 a year. It was more like $250,000 a year. But he was able to take advantage of the spiking and also able to take advantage of buying what's called airtime or buying additional year credits. And through all that, that has allowed his pension to be much higher. What we have done to fix it, this is what we've done to fix it, as I mentioned earlier. We have taken our current city manager, Ed Starr, who originally was a director of administrative services, made him a city manager. He's still doing that job. When the city clerk retired last year, he assumed that particular position. Yes, one of the administrative assistants was promoted to deputy city clerk. But nevertheless, Ed has taken on 3 positions, 3 jobs, which is a total savings of at least $300,000 a year, probably a lot more, probably more closer to $400,000 a year. In addition to that, Ed continues to receive the same salary that he was receiving as a director of administrative services. Yes, he's volunteering to take that. He can accept a higher salary. It is nowhere close to what the previous city manager was making. But right now, Ed is essentially taking a 40% cut based on the previous city manager. As I stated before, this city council believes it is important that we have a sound, prudent budget, that we are able to cover all our costs and to ensure that we continue to provide the services to this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ruiz, if elected, what would be your major area of focus? For example, public safety, public health, youth activities, etc.
I would have to say public safety, and also trying to replant our city. I see a lot of trees being cut down and stuff like that, and regreening our city, which is a shame that, you know, trees and things that are beautiful in our city get cut down and not reestablished. But public safety, safety for our families and kids, and emergency response in times like that.
Thank you. Okay. More two-parters, more two individual questions. All righty. All righty. This one is to Mrs. Raft and Mr. Dutray. Speaking about police and fire retirements, I too believe that some costs should be absorbed by them. The California State Gadsby bill in 2007 requires cities to start funding for PERS paid and agreed upon retirements by the city and its employees. Why have you not done this to offset these costs?
First of all, in the city paid all the PERS for the employees up until 2010, and then after 2010, it started. The city employees were at that point asked to start doing their own share, which was the 6%. Most of the employees, like I said, have done it. But even the fire department is putting theirs in, but the police department is the one that's withholding out right now, and they are not wanting to pay the 6%. But I don't think, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think one department is any better than another department, so therefore, I think it's up to everyone to pay their share. After all, it is the employee's share.
And I would agree, too, that all employees should pay their share. You know, here in Montclair, we pay our firefighters $63,000 a year. Our engineers $73,548 a year, plus at least $10,000 in medical benefits, plus probably an average of $15,000 in overtime pay. In the police department, we pay our police officers $74,000 a year, our sergeants almost $100,000 a year. And in addition to that, they get a little more than $11,400 in benefits. So I think we do a great job in compensating our public safety. Again, the pension costs have gone up $2 million, and the question is who pays for that? Do the residents pay that in either tax increases or in reductions in services or elimination of services, or should the employees pay for that? And I think the employees should be paying for that. Thank you.
Thank you. This one is for Mr. Beltran and Mr. Brunsky. Your publicity pieces talk about restoring 10 police officers' positions plus CSOs and restoring SWAT, canines, etc. Do you believe these positions can be restored without cuts to other services? If not, where will you make cuts to fund these positions?
There won't be any cuts. It's about bringing revenue to the city to pay for these employees, okay? When you start looking forward in life and have goals, these things do come true. Unlike our current city council that said the city manager can do whatever he wants. Let me just say this. If our city manager has 3 or 4 jobs right now, what I always heard is you may be a jack of all trades, but you're a master of none, okay? And he's not taking those salaries, watch out, because here comes another Lee McDougal right in front of your face. Because when it gets time for him to retire, and if he takes those job positions and the salaries that he's not taking today, watch yourself.
Yes. Got a million of them up here. Your publicity pieces talk about restoring 10 police officers' position plus CSOs, restoring SWAT, K-9s, etc. Do you believe these positions can be restored without cuts to other services? If not, where will you make cuts to fund these positions?
Again, as I had mentioned, the city has taken a very reactive approach to everything by cutting services and so forth. Mr. Brunsky and myself are running on a pro-business platform to bring businesses into Montclair so that we can solve the Montclair economic problem. Basically, by filling in all these vacancies, we can get people back to work, we can add additional revenue to the city and be able to provide all these other services and restore the 10 officers, get the CSOs back and the SWAT team and so forth. This is the message we've been telling all the residents, is that we're pro-business and we want to bring businesses into Montclair to solve the economic problem.
Mr. Ruiz, what is your vision for Montclair?
My vision for Montclair is to make Montclair a place where we can be proud of, a place to bring businesses back. So, I had it written down. A place where my vision is just to help businesses in our city, bring incentives to our cities, businesses to grow, also to make it better for future residents and current residents.
I have a general question, and we'll start with Mr. Ruiz because I believe we left off with Mr. Beltran starting last time. Why do you believe that the police and fire associations are very involved in this election and expending a lot of money to get their candidates elected?
I believe the police and fire have a lot to do with who gets elected, because the city council helps. They're very involved with the fire and police department. And I think public safety, fire department, and our police department are very important to our city and to our council, so they can work together to make our city better.
My wife couldn't be here tonight, but on Monday, June 1st, 2009, she appeared at a city council meeting. And under public comment, this is what she said. She's a 35-year Montclair resident, and she would speak this evening on behalf of all Montclair residents, noting she herself lives in a relatively good area of the city. She expressed her concern regarding the city's proposal to lay off 10 police officers and stated it is difficult to understand why we would do something so detrimental to our city. And Mayor Eaton's response was, there would be no response made to her comment at that time. So obviously, if we're not going to have, if citizens can't go to the city council meetings and ask, why did we lay off 10 police officers, and we're just going to sit up here as city council members and say no comment without a response, we have a serious problem going on. There needs to be explanations of what is going on and what the policies are to get us out so we can restore those 10 police officers, so we don't have any crime and issues, which then will then bring down your home values, which will cause more crime in the city. These are major issues for the city of Montclair. Thank you.
Yeah, I keep hearing about the number of police officers. When I first got elected, we had 52 sworn positions here in Montclair. That's in 1996. I think the population of Montclair back then was 30,000. Around 2003, when the economy started improving, when the revenues were coming in, we decided let's hire more officers, let's hire more positions and be able to do more proactive. Bring in the crime suppression units is one example. So we did that. And unfortunately, the Great Recession arrived in 2009. Our revenues went down, as I stated earlier, $4 million, and we had to ask our employees to provide concessions. At that time in 2009, we were in labor negotiations with the Police Association. We were asking, I don't remember, I think it was maybe $400,000, $500,000 at the time, concessions. The Police Association refused to agree to the concessions, and that required us to conduct layoffs because they were in the middle of their contract and we were not able to impose. We had no other choice. We had to do was layoffs. We were getting ready to lay off 4 officers, and then at the last minute, the former city manager, Lee Madugo, and at that time, the president of the association, David Camus, got together and it came up with a plan. The plan was, okay, we have 60 sworn positions. First 4 positions go away, the city will get the savings. The second 4 positions go away, which the employees or the association members, their concessions will go away and they'll get their full pay. So that was an agreement between the association, police association, and the city of Montclair at that time. I can tell you right now, with 52 sworn officers, we have more police officers in Montclair than any of the surrounding cities except Chino, and we have more police officers than most of the cities, perhaps all cities in Stanley County, again, except Chino. I can also tell you that here in Montclair, we have 8.71.
Thank you. Mrs. Rath?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I want to say something to Mr. Brunsky. When a person comes up in public comment at the city council meeting, we cannot sit there and answer their questions. We can refer it, but we cannot answer it because it's not on the agenda. It's just not the way it's done. As I agree with everything that John said, and truthfully, Montclair police officers actually out on the street has 48 officers, okay? And if you do those 48 officers with 5.51 square mile, per mile you have 8.71 officers. Now that's a lot of officers. The other cities all around, we're the number 1. The other cities around are smaller, much smaller. Also, I did it by population. We have 37,163. And Montclair has 1.39 officers per population. The only other one, as John said, is Chino, which has 1.41. And they have 79,000. Now, they have almost double to us, but yet if we would take it back there, but 1.39 to 1.41, that's pretty good. So, also, I would like to say that, you know, I think Montclair, we're very proud of Montclair. Montclair has a good council. The city, everyone works well together. And I've been going door to door talking to people, and I have very few complaints. Most people, I ask them, is there any problems? Is there something you want to say? Most people step up and say, no, I'm very satisfied. And I say, thank you. That means we're doing a good job. I really appreciate that. And if you go out there running around and you get that, I don't know where the other people are getting their comments from the people. I haven't had anything like that since I've been out. Thank you.
Yes, it's true. The police and fire are more politically active, and they always have been. Public safety has always been a concern to all our residents and businesses. Businesses needs to know that their customers can come to their business free of any harm and so forth. There was a individual that I talked to who had applied to a business, and as they were going through the interview process, was told that the business had just been held up. Much to her dismay, she asked if it would be provided any safety if at the end of her shift, and the answer was no. Needless to say, that person did not want that job. This isn't. We definitely have to provide a safe environment for our residents and businesses, and to conduct their business. And unfortunately, customers will not be coming to the city of Montclair if they if they fear for their lives and so forth. Another problem we're having with is that unfortunately the police and the fire have become a revolving door. In other words, those people who have been there for a while end up leaving. Why? Because they're appreciated here at the city of Montclair. so forth. And unfortunately, the sentiment here at the city of Montclair is we'll just hire somebody cheaper and we'll train them again. So we become a training ground, constantly pouring money into training a new officer or a firefighter, just so that after they've been here a couple of years, we leave. We need to spend more time on working with our officers, providing workplace incentives for them to actually feel pride in their job and feel appreciated and so forth. And that's something that I will work towards. Thank you.
Individual question for Mr. Dutray. Between July 2011 and July 2012, the city has experienced a 25% increase in the number of foreclosed homes owned by lenders. How do you feel the city can best deal with the issue of foreclosed houses, their appearance, and impact on the city?
Well, the city, since 2009, through the Code Enforcement Act Division, has been pretty active in keeping track of these homes, making sure they're properly maintained. One of the things we implemented was a registration program where the lenders have to register their property with the city of Montclair and pay a fee. What we do is when we have a home that has blight issues, has trash, or is not secured, then our Code Enforcement Division, through its abatement process, can go to those properties, secure the property, clean it up, and then also be able to recuperate any city costs. It is hoped that the foreclosure situation is beginning to drop. There's some indication of those numbers. However, there's a number of homeowners who are underwater. There's also a number of homeowners who are going through short sales or through modifications of their loans. They're still residing in the property. So it's a problem that in terms of vacant homes, hopefully that's dissipating, but as far as homeowners being underwater, that is still a huge problem that we need to hope that it's resolved here soon to get our real estate market going again. Thanks.
Thank you. We're going to do one more individual question, and then we will start with our closing remarks. This one's going to be directed to Mr. Brunsky. You have stated that you are running for office on a pro-business platform and that the city needs to maintain its competitiveness. What specific ideas do you have to attract more business to the city other than just generic business-friendly rhetoric?
Start in Claremont, drive through Montclair, go through Upland, down to Ontario, Chino, and Rancho Cucamonga, and you tell me what the difference is between our city and their cities. And that's the problem that our business owners are having with the city of Montclair. We are not competitive in advertising. We can't put a balloon out. We can't put a little A-frame sign and say, sale this weekend. And our business owners feel completely restrained when they can just literally look across the street in Upland and go, they got flags up, they got grand opening, they have all these banners up. Why can't we do that? And that's just as an anti-business platform, especially in a down economy. You have to be competitive. Let me give you an example. Remember all those states 2 years that were underwater? Ohio, Indiana, Wisconsin, South Carolina. They all voted for Republican governors. They all had deficits. They went pro-business, and guess what? They all have surpluses now. And now those states actually have lower unemployment than most of the states in this country. So you have to change the mind frame and go to a more pro-business mental attitude within the city, which will attract these businesses. They'll want to come to the city when they have some more flexibility than their neighbor literally right across the street.
Thank you. At this point, we're going to start with our closing statements, and the closing statements will start from west to east. So, Mr. Dutray, you are up first.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to the CAC, the Junior Women's Club, and the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. And what I'll do is I'll just make this simple. I'm going to read the editorial in the Daily Bulletin before I run out of time. And Montclair City Council is perhaps the easiest endorsement of our editorial board. It is a straightforward case of backing two incumbents who have worked responsibility to hold the line on city expenses in the face of this great recession. Montclair, more than most cities in the Inland Valley, actually has reining expenses in response to the falling revenue. It was the first area to go, is the first city to go into the two-tier system to provide more modest pensions to new employees. And the city has insisted that employees pay more of the employee portion of their pension cost. The pension issue has led to friction with public safety unions, and the disagreement lies at the center of this election. The police and fire unions, after reaching an impasse with the city and having contracts imposed upon them, want to get the incumbents out of office and replace them with union-friendly challengers. We think that Dutre Raft and City Council colleagues are doing a good job protecting the public purse while fairly dealing with the employees. Our view is that all public employees should pay full employee share of their pension plans. That's why it's called the employee share. Media Council short-sightedly agreed to pick up when times were good, but these times are no longer at that point. Police officers and firefighters are the good guys, and I agree with that, and gals in town. They're there to protect us and serve the public. Their union leaders and lawyers, however, are out to get a big chunk of public purse as possible, which is their job. The best city councils and city managers, in our view, are willing to stand up to financial and political power of the unions, not in order to underpay their members, but to reach a reasonable balance that protects taxpayers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what this city council race in Montclair is about, and I hope on November 6th you remember that I think Carol and I are here to serve you. Thank you.
Mr. Brunsky?
I'd like to thank everybody that came out tonight, because obviously you're a concerned citizen, so thanks for coming out tonight. And those of you watching at home, thanks for watching. The redevelopment agency is gone, so it's time to change course and create these public and private partnerships to create economic development within the city and create jobs at the same time. This will attract businesses looking to expand or start their own business in Montclair. We can get rid of worn-down buildings and apartments and bring in new, safe, affordable housing. I have the contacts to get this done. I'm concerned about our employees' salaries, pensions, and benefits that have affected so many other cities. And when I find out that our former city manager takes over $300,000 per year in cost of living bumps in retirement, that highly concerns me, as it does many of you residents that I've spoken about this with. It's time to dig deep and make sure your money is being spent wisely. Talk is cheap, but now is the time for action. New, fresh ideas so that Montclair is competitive with our surrounding cities, and everyone in the Inland Empire will look to Montclair as the example and not the follower. I thank you in advance for your vote, and great days are ahead for Montclair.
Mr. Ruiz?
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody up here on stage, everybody that came tonight. I'd like to thank for the support of my family. I have a very short closing statement. Part of the reason I'm running is I love the city. I love Montclair. I don't have a political background. I don't have an agenda that's gonna. But what I do have is love for Montclair. I'm just a citizen that wants to help the future of Montclair. And like I said, I'm running for city council to help create a safer community for our current and future residents. I love Montclair. I would like to be part of its future. And I think I'm the right candidate, so on November 6th, remember to write in Philip Reese for city council.
Thank you. Mr. Beltran?
First of all, I want to thank the Montclair Chamber of Commerce and the Community Action Committee and all those that helped to make tonight's event so successful. Tonight, you've heard a lot of information from all the various candidates. It is important as a voter to make an informed vote on November 6th. What you didn't hear tonight was what the incumbents plan on doing in the future for Montclair. They have mentioned projects that are currently going on, but their vision is limited to those items. Furthermore, they tout that they are fiscally responsible. But on July 20th, when they were submitted the statement of cash and investments in the treasurer's report, It had a $33 million ending fund balance, but when they submitted the same when the same report was submitted on September 17th, the beginning balance mysteriously decreased to 29.5, a $3.5 million difference between the beginning and the ending balance of July 31st and the beginning balance of August 1st. And yet no council member raised the question to ask why. Why was the ending balance so significantly different? Furthermore, how can they say that they are fiscally responsible when the Montclair city manager makes approximately $10,000 less than the Vice President of the United States? And we're just a 5 square mile community. Yet they're so willing to take money from the police, fire, and general employees of the city. I am running on a pro-business platform in order to fill the vacancies out there, assist our existing businesses to expand, and increase employment opportunities for the residents out there. So many of them have reduced hours or have had to or have been laid off. Furthermore, I want to enhance our parks, add jogging trails, additional family activities, including bringing back those barbecue pits and some additional kid-friendly equipment. I will also encourage and work towards having a public swimming pool for our families, along with encouraging this facility to be used for low-impact exercises for our seniors and all others who need this type of program. I would work further to provide resources necessary for our youth to receive mentoring, tutoring, job readiness, and college preparation skills. I will also work towards a partnership with businesses and nonprofits to help our youth to be introduced and provide insurance to liberal arts areas such as photography, music, theater, painting, graphic design, so our youth will be aware of the career opportunities in these areas. Furthermore, in the future, I would work towards Montclair having its first cultural center so that so they can bring back.
Thank you. Mrs. Raff.
Yes, thank you. I wish to thank Mr. Neal, the Community Action Committee, and the audience attending tonight's forum. I hope you learned something about each one of us. It takes a strong leadership to run a city efficiently. Balancing expenses with revenues is a challenge for city councils, and it takes a good staff and council working together to achieve this for the betterment of the residents. It's easy to go around making statements that you'll bring business to Montclair and revitalize the Montclair Plaza. It is, as I said before, it is a privately owned corporation. The city has very little control over it. City officials routinely have meetings with the plaza's corporate management, trying to push them into a commitment as to when renovations will take place. However, we are limited to what we can do. It may sound daring to accuse incumbents of politics as usual. However, such statements ignoring that there is a weak economy with people reluctant to start up a new business or expand what they have because of the unknown of what the future will bring. As I said in my opening statement, I take great pride in being endorsed by the Daily Bulletin. They referred to me as, quote, Raff has long been the fiscal hawk on the council. They recognize what a responsibility it is to run city government efficiently and effectively. It takes all of us working together as a team. We are not a city council of one, nor is it healthy to the process for challengers to seek election just so they can get revenge against one or more people. This is not efficient government, and it will eventually lead to a downfall for the city and the residents. You must ask yourself, do I want a council member who is independent and works for the people, or a person who is supported by unions in order to get their agendas approved? And this was in an email, so we all know it was true. Therefore, harming the stability of the city. When you have unions putting a lot of money behind you, they are going to want something in return for their own benefit with no regard for the residents of the city council, city of Montclair. I wish to thank my husband Ray, my son John, and who are in the audience, my colleagues for their support as well as their help, along with friends and supporters. I hope I have earned your vote for 4 more years so we can continue the job together to build a greater Montclair. I do have something to say on the police, by the way, on a business. Police can't be everywhere, so they cannot walk on the businesses. When people are getting off work, they can't walk them to the car. That's the business responsibility. And the crime in Montclair has been so far down. Matter of fact, it's 0 this year. And as far as Ms. McDougal's pay, we have addressed that information, and we have told you guys what it is. Yes, crime is way, way down. Got the figures. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you all for coming and speaking this evening. I think you've shed a lot of light on your candidacies. I'd like to remind everybody to get out and vote on November 6th. Very important. The Candidates Forum was hosted by the Montclair Community Action Committee, the Montclair Chamber of Commerce, and refreshments were provided by the Montclair Ontario Junior Women's Club. Thank you all for attending, and have a good night.